He uses Madigan's law firm for his personal property taxes. He's been caught on FBI wiretap. He funds Madigan's machine in his operation.
Well, certainly a contentious day, Judgment Day in the gubernatorial race that's going to shape the face of Illinois for years to come. Can billionaire J.B. Pritzker knock out incumbent Governor Bruce Rauner, or will Rauner somehow hold on for that second term? It's one of a number our eye on today.
Yeah, joining us this morning, our political analyst Tom Serafin and Republican strategist Kathleen Murphy. Thank you both for coming in today. I really appreciate it. Let's start right away with Pritzker versus Rauner. Polls showing going into today that Pritzker was leading Rauner by double digits. Can Rauner even pull this off? What do you think?
I think it's extremely, extremely unlikely that Rauner's going to pull this off. So listen, if you're one of the 85% of Illinoisans who thinks that the state's on the wrong track, or you're an independent who wants some checks and balances in government, you have got to go down ballot and vote Republican in the House races, because if you elect Democrats in the House races, they will be a vote for Mike Madigan. The first vote they take once they're inaugurated is for the Speaker. Democrats never vote against Mike Madigan. You have to put some checks and balances. J.B. Pritzker already said he wants to increase your property taxes. You need a check against that.
Speaking of checks, I want to ask about, Rauner, you could argue, you could point to a lot of missteps he made during his first term, and that's probably the reason why he's going to be out of a job at the end of the day. One of the more savvy moves he's made is backing Erica Harrell. Tom, are you surprised, especially in the last couple of months, she really seems to have made some gains against Kwame Raoul?
Well, it's a Cinderella story. I mean, she's from birth all the way through. I mean, Harvard Law School, University of Illinois, winning the Miss America pageant to get the money for Harvard Law School, and then practicing law and doing the job from a downstate community, an African American. She's had a lot of impediments, but she's hurdled all of them. She's the new star of the Illinois GOP. She will be for a long time to come. She's in a tight race today. She could pull it out prohibitively because of the top of the ticket so strong for the Democrats. It's going to be tough for her down the stretch. But smart money's on Rauner, as he said earlier.
All right, let's talk about another African-American who was in our town the other day, Barack Obama, pushing and stumping for J.B. Pritzker, some senators, and, Kwame Raoul as well. How much of sway does this man have?
Well, I think it's all bad scheduling on their part. There's no reason to be campaigning in Illinois for Democrats. Democrats are going to win everywhere in the state. I mean, it's going to be blue all the time, everywhere, for a long time, certainly for the rest of my lifetime. So if I'm going to be if I'm going to put President Obama somewhere, I'm going to put him in some marginal states where we can actually do some good with his appearance there. Here it was nice to see him, and it was nice to shake hands with him. Like he's doing robocalls for Kwame on the AG's race, so he's helping out where he can. But really, you need him in those marginal states.
Kathleen, we got about a minute left. 6th and 14th district. The whole country's watching these because you've got a couple of Republican incumbents who are in trouble. Absolutely. Is Peter Roskam going to survive the attack from Sean Casten today?
I do think Peter Roskam survives it. These are GOP strongholds in Hillary Clinton territory. The GOP does not want to lose it. I also think that Randy Hultgren's the upset in the 14th district.
Right. We have 11 Democrats, 7 Republican congressmen. 4 of them are in the margin of error that could be defeated today. That would lend to the House of Representatives going to the Democrats in Washington, D.C. Very close races, and I think you've got a good call there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you both for coming in.
You stick around, because we're going to talk about the bigger picture in our next hour.
Yeah.
So thanks to you both for coming in.
That's where all the action is.
That's where the action is. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Though that there are a number of contests that could change the face of politics nationally.
Yeah, so let's welcome back political analyst Tom Serafin and Republican strategist Kathleen Murphy. Thanks to you both for sticking around. I want to begin by asking you about the polling. It appears as though the Democrats are poised to retake the House. That said, there were a lot of folks absolutely convinced in 2016 that Hillary Clinton was going to be our next president, and they got it wrong. How accurate do you think these polls are, and do you think Democrats are poised to retake the House?
Well, I always say you have to look underneath the headlines. 38 Republican congressmen retired, all right? And then you have another 18 Democrats retired. So you have a lot of new candidates running. And the probability that somebody would win out of power of the White House is, 80%. So there are only 2 times since 1910, during George Bush and Franklin Roosevelt, that they'd ever pick up seats, the party that was outside the White House. But remember this. And I just have to give you these stats. 26 seats in his second year. Bill Clinton lost 54 seats. George Bush picked up 8 seats after 9/11. And Barack Obama lost 63 seats. those 4 presidents all served 2 terms.
Interesting.
So be careful what we wish for and we don't wish for here.
Yeah, right. Any point you want to make on
I
that?
actually think something that's really interesting on a policy note is 2 times that there was a major shift in the House. It had to do with health care. One was when during Bill Clinton's tenure, when Hillary Care was on the table, and after they passed the Affordable Care Act in 2010. This term, one of the mandates that Republicans went in on was repeal and replace, and a big disappointment for a lot of Republican voters was that it didn't happen. So I'm interested to see how that would impact it. Like Tom said, it would be the first time in, I think, 16 years that a House hadn't flipped in a non-presidential year.
But isn't the economy like one of the voters on both sides?
Healthcare is something you feel. Healthcare is something that you feel, and so if you don't make good on those promises, I think there is a little pushback from voters, and there should be.
And the Democrats, ironically, have nationalized health care, pre-existing conditions.
Right.
Everybody's running on that issue, and that polls above 52%. So that's good for them. But the issue about the economy for the Republicans is also very good for them. But what have we talked about over and over and over again? Talk about the border, the caravan, and those issues of immigration. They still dominate, and the president believes that's going to deliver him some votes.
And to that point, the president campaign reeling a little bit this morning because it's not often that a television network pulls a political ad. This is where, we make the gravy, okay, on these days. And yet Fox News, NBC, even Facebook have pulled a Trump ad. We've got some video of it. Basically, this gentleman here, and I shouldn't use the word gentleman, this man was convicted of killing 2 cops in California. And the Trump campaign had linked him not only to a migrant caravan, but also said, as you can see here in the font, that Democrats had let him into the country. Not true. Actually, he came in during the Bush years, and then again, I believe, during the Obama years as well. My point in asking this question is, have we reached a new low in both of your minds as far as how we are raging these campaigns and where we are willing to go to win?
Yeah, it sure seems like it.
Well, we haven't. It's been a lot worse in the past. This is bad, this is stupid, and it's wrong, okay, period. But I was working for Gary Hart. There's a movie coming out about that particular campaign. And after we got out of the race, Dukakis got into the race. The governor became the Democratic candidate. And we had the Willie Horton ad, which was similar to this ad. So, we've been worse in the past, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be better today. We should be better today, and we aren't. And you watch all these ads I've been watching. I said to my wife last night, man, oh man, I mean, it's almost, it's like made-for-TV movies kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's that ugly, kind of campy stuff. I'm surprised that the people that are generating television now for candidates are so sophomoric in how they present issues to the public. It really suggests that they think the public is very stupid, which I'm insulted by.
I tend to agree. I think it seems like we go through phases of this, because in my adult life, I don't remember a time where politics was particularly civil. When I was in college, George W. Bush was president. He was Hitler. He was, he was going to get us all killed. Very similar to what we have now. My mom, seems to remember a time where it was a little more civil. But I actually, ironically, I didn't know you were going to ask us about this, but posted on my Facebook page the other day an article about Thomas Jefferson and Adams in their race in 1880, I believe. And Adams said if Jefferson won, there would be murder and rapes in the streets and incest and all kinds. I mean, horrible, outrageous claims. So, yeah, I mean, yes, it wasn't like Trump came in and that was the end of civility. It was, there was always some incivility in politics.
Going on for centuries. Okay.
Yeah, there's no partisanship when it comes to, bad ads. I mean, on all sectors, on all fronts, we've seen it all. We're going to see more down the stretch. It's unfortunate. We're going to go now into the presidential cycle here in Chicago. The only race that anybody's talking about today, tomorrow, and the next day is the mayor's race.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the game right now. And so, sayonara, Chicago, Congress, right now, it's all about City Hall.
It sure is. It sure is. Hey, thanks to both of you for sticking around today and giving us your insight on this. We're going to have a lot to talk about tomorrow, too.
Yeah, appreciate that. By the way, just as a reminder, we've got wall-to-wall coverage for you all across our Fox 32 platforms. We're going to have the latest convincing win last night over incumbent Bruce Rauner, one of several key races that went to the Democrats.
All right, and joining us this morning is the political analyst, Tom Seraphin. We always love your expertise. And Republican strategist Kathleen Murphy. Thank you both of you for coming in. What fight is he talking about? He's going to have he's going to have Madigan pushing everything through. So that's the first thing I think of when I hear him talking about a fight. Want to weigh in?
Well, you know, he's got a veto-proof majority in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. I don't think Speaker Madigan, you know, if it's been a quiet day, I really don't want a veto-proof majority. It forces the Democrats to make tough decisions without the Republicans. The Republicans now are bystanders in Illinois, if even that. So it's all Democrats all the time with all the power.
Yes.
All the power.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
All the power. So there's no fight.
No, they own it now, though. Whatever comes of the state, whatever you do on pensions, whatever happens with property taxes, you own it now. And I have to say, J.B. Pritzker didn't do it alone. He should thank Bruce Rauner and the ILGOP for doing what he couldn't do and Democrats couldn't do, which is destroying the Republican Party from the inside.
Well, those two are in opposition to the both of you on the issue of recreational marijuana. We saw it pass in Michigan. They are now the 10th state. The governor-elect says he's going to get it done here. Do you see him getting that done soon, or is this going to take a while?
This spring before June, you'll have legalized marijuana as well as more gaming, 4 or 5 more casinos in Illinois. Absolutely, they need those. That provides about $800 million in revenue for them. They need a lot more than that. Illinois is broke, institutionally broke, so marijuana's fine.
You're shrugging your shoulders, Kathleen. No?
I mean, Illinois is so screwed up that we're going to balance our budget with drugs and gambling. No way. The liabilities are way too high. There's no way to balance the budget with marijuana. They have to do structural reform. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. All you're going to see is more tax increases, more things to tax. What else can we find?
But don't you think that the marijuana issue, the money that could come in from that could actually shore up the pension and help us get that under control?
I don't think it could generate that much revenue. We have a $250 billion pension crisis. There's no way you're going to balance that on the backs of drug users.
They're looking at some kind of capital projects bill. They need about $800 million. They're going to get it from marijuana and gaming. They're going to pass both of those pieces of legislation this coming spring.
Kathleen, yesterday you talked about checks and balances. A lot of folks thought that Erica Harold had a shot, perhaps, at being a check to the governor-elect. Boy, this thing wasn't really close. Are you surprised that Kwame Raoul won by such a wide margin?
No. Honestly, the GOP in Illinois has been absent the fight. Governor Rauner was an anchor at the top of the ticket, and the ILGOP threw in with him. So they're completely ineffective. And Erica Harold was a graceful candidate, but
Tim Schneider, the chairman of the Illinois Democratic Party, lost his seat on the Cook County board last night. There aren't any Republicans. And Raul did a nice job, and the rumor was down the stretch that they were trying to trump up, get some more voters out there because things were going so well for Democrats. They were worried about down ballot candidates. So they made it a tough race. It talked about it a lot, got more people out to the ballot box. The Democrats are very smart here in Illinois. The Republicans, unfortunately, well, there's no leader and there's no party.
All right. Two key congressional races, the 6th district and also the 14th district, flipped, went to Democrats. We're talking about Sean Casten and, of course, Lauren Underwood. Any big surprises there?
I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed about Peter Roskam, but given how much Rauner dragged down the ticket, I would say I'm not surprised at all.
Holcomb was a surprise only because he didn't really make the kind of effort you would have made if you were going to be contested. He was contested with a very good candidate. She won, and she won convincingly.
Not all bad news for the president, though. He wins back Ohio and Florida as far as the governorships, and also they added some Senate seats. So it wasn't a completely blue wave across the country, more so here in Illinois. But we want to thank you both for coming in. I know you're tired. Go home and rest. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's send it over to Mike now. Check on our weather. Hey, Mike.
All right, 10 minutes before 8 o'clock, and all is cold.